Hello, everybody. On today's episode of Backseat Quarterbacks, I am joined by a special guest, a bonus episode of Backseat Quarterbacks, Matt St. Jean from CLNS Media and the Pats Nation Network podcast. I better get that right. Got a special guest. And he's also a contributing writer to Pat's Pulpit for SB Nation. He is a great follow on Twitter. He is one of the best follows on Twitter, actually. X, some people
Oh,
call
I
it. But we
appreciate
call it
it.
Twitter around here. Yeah, no, you've been awesome. And I asked him to do this podcast on Saturday night, after the divisional round matchups. He couldn't do it on Saturday night, and then we pushed it to Monday. We're doing a little bonus Pats coverage, Bills coverage, AFC East, Pats season end review. For the people that don't like the Patriots, this podcast might not be for you. But like I said, a month and a half ago, when the Patriots are good, Backseat Quarterbacks turns into a Patriots podcast, more so than just a football podcast, because that's my team. I made this podcast when the Patriots weren't doing so hot, and now they're hot, so we're hot. We're going in.
Gotta lean
So
into
how are
it.
you doing, Matt? Thank you for joining.
I am doing fantastic. Absolutely thrilled at Patriots game. It really, I think this has been one of the most exciting NFL playoffs in a while. It feels like every game has been tense and exciting and come down to the wire, and that's all you ask for here. And Patriots get to be a part of it, which is even better.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Final Four teams? Do you think these are the right Final Four? Do you think there should be differences in any of these games?
It feels right. It feels representative of what this season has been, where you get really two of the top three defenses in Seattle and Denver that make it this far. And, you look at that Denver performance. A lot of Buffalo turnovers. I know we're going to get into the Buffalo stuff here in a minute, but their defense plays well in that one, forcing Josh Allen to make mistakes. They get just enough, especially when you get that, the McMillan pick in overtime is an incredible defensive play. And then you look at Seattle with defense and special teams just blowing out the 49ers. Two teams that have been great all season, two defenses that have been great all season, leading them into home games in the divisional round feels appropriate. And then the other two teams, it's the two MVP candidates. And you got the old one and the young one. Like this, it feels representative of what this season has been all year long. And, I think if you're a neutral fan, a little bummed that it's Jarrett Stidham instead of Bo Nix next Sunday, but outside of that, hard to be disappointed.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I mimic what you just said. I think these are the four teams that have shown they've deserved it throughout the season. I know the 5 seed Rams, a lot of people think they were the best team in the NFC or second best team, MVP candidate. The Seahawks have been a behemoth all year. And then the Patriots, people talk about the schedule a lot. They have lost one game in the since September, and the Broncos again. It sucks that Nix isn't playing in this game, but their defense is great, and we'll see how Stidham plays. And it's not Bo Nix that forced Josh Allen to have 4 turnovers or 5 turnovers in that game. So
No.
their defense is for real and legit.
By the way, you mentioned the schedule part of that too. I think I don't think you should talk about the schedule with the Patriots, which has been easy, without also mentioning that they've been destroying the teams that they've played. By overall season DVOA right now, which takes into account strength of schedule, the Patriots are 7th. So they are dominating teams. And by weighted DVOA, which just, weights what you've been doing more recently higher, Patriots are 2nd, only to Seattle. They are playing their best football right now. And, you look at the history of teams that have faced easy schedules and aligned with the Patriots have. It's teams that have gone to the Super Bowl. The 99 Rams, the greatest show on turf offense, also had a remarkably easy schedule. Didn't stop them from winning the ring. I mean, and I also do think strength of schedule is a little bit laughable in a professional league where they're all paid athletes who do this for a living. This isn't college sports where you're playing, a team that's way down the rankings that's really in another division that has athletes who aren't close to on par with what you're doing. So, yeah, I think that talking point gets brought out way too much.
Yeah, and I think my big problem with it also is if you look at these teams in the league, there's probably 5 to 8 teams where it's like these are really, really elite football teams, and a lot of the teams left haven't played them. I do think the Rams and Seattle are two of them. I think the Patriots are one of them. I think the Broncos are one of them. And then you go down through the list of it. I think Houston was one of them, and the Patriots
Yep.
just played Houston. I think Buffalo is in that zone. They played Buffalo twice. Uh,
It's what
Baltimore could have been, but it's like it's what we do here though is like it gets into, if you look at the schedules of the teams that they play, these schedules are picked years out in advance outside of 3 games, and
yeah.
just so happened that it went their way this year. You're right on the
And
point that you
it's
said.
not just looking ahead real quick, and it's not next year. The Patriots' schedule next year, at least on paper, is incredibly hard. I think 9 games against playoff teams, not including games at Detroit and at Kansas City.
Yeah, yeah, it's a much tougher schedule. So you wanna get out and win this one probably,
Yep.
because next year is going to be harder. But I think
You
we're
never know
set
when
up
you're
to
getting
be.
back.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's not promised like we talked ahead of this podcast. This seems like
Yeah.
an awesome opportunity for them to get back to the promised land. They're in the what I like to call the Brady Belichick Invitational
Mhm.
this weekend against Denver, but um, it's unbelievable to be back in this situation, and I think a lot of people still aren't recognizing what this team is, especially when Milton Williams and Spillane and Gonzo, when they're all playing, they haven't lost a game. They're dominating teams, like you said, to your point. Uh, this is a team that just scored. What was the final score of that game yesterday in Houston? 28-16.
28-16.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a dominating win, even with Drake Mays fumbling the ball a little too much. It's to me, these games aren't close, and they've been doing it for the better part of the last month and a half of the season. That one Bills game was they were up 21-0, and they squandered that lead at the end. There was some very questionable officiating calls, and I'm not trying to be a full-on homer about that, but it is what it is, and I think we're looking at a team that's really undervalued. I'm not trying to make this is more of a gambling football podcast, if for what it's worth. Like we do picks and stuff, but I do think there's a real um chance here to exploit the markets with how people are viewing this team. Everybody was picking Houston. I could not believe how many people were picking Houston in that
That
game.
and it seemed like with the ESPN pregame shows and with the stuff they were doing during the week, it seemed like basically everybody on the network who didn't play for the Patriots was picking Houston to win. And that,
Yeah,
if we want to just use that as a launching point to get into the game,
yeah,
uh, I always felt pretty confident about a Patriots win in this one. And my keys to the game, there were 2 big ones. When Houston had the ball, it was force their offense to be one-dimensional. Stop the run and make Stroud beat you through the air, especially when you know you're not going to have Nico Collins. Stroud is someone who has struggled against cover zero and blitzes in his career, especially this year. And, the Texans offense did a good job in Pittsburgh of running on them, but the Patriots run defense has been very good when at full strength this year. So my thought was if you can stop the run on early downs, make Stroud beat you through the air, the Texans are going to have a lot of short possessions. So the Patriots are just going to get a lot of possessions and a lot of opportunities against the Houston defense. And then for the Patriots had the ball, the Texans are going to get theirs. They're going to get sacks. They're going to probably force turnovers. They're not going to give up long sustained drives. So you basically just need to hit a couple home runs. Like you need to hit a couple balls over the top, a couple big plays, and I thought if you can get 2, maybe 3 touchdowns in there, you're probably winning this ball game because Houston's offense just will not be able to match that. And I think outside of May fumbling the ball a little bit too much, everything went to plan. And the Houston defense gives up explosives. New England's receivers are good down the field, especially Kayshon Boutte, and Drake May is amazing at those passes. And I don't understand how people like. I listened to the Athletic podcast, and they did an in-depth breakdown of this game, and they broke down the game. And Robert Mays, who's the host, kind of like, I still don't really know who I want to pick. And in my head, I'm like, I listened to your entire breakdown, and now I am more confident than ever that the Patriots are winning this game, and things ended up playing out exactly that way.
yeah. I I I- when I was breaking this game down on our picks podcast that we do on Tuesday nights, we obviously were 4 games to choose from, and I was doing confidence rankings. I had Seattle and San Francisco as number one, Seattle -7. I just think that they were going to blow the brakes off them. And then this was number two, but it was really 1A, 1B. I just didn't see a way in which the Texans were going to be able to score enough points especially with how Stroud played against Pittsburgh. Stroud played terrible against Pittsburgh, and that was a 30-6 game where Rodgers was unable to move. Now, the Patriots offense didn't play the way that I thought they would. They were not moving the pocket enough for Drake, and I think that a lot of those sacks and forced fumbles were at least somewhat. I know Will Campbell had a tough game, but it's impossible to have a good game against Will Anderson if
Yeah.
in single pass protection. Will Anderson's a legit monster. I do not understand how I said this in the podcast I did yesterday with Darren, the co-host of BS QBs. I don't understand how Will Anderson and I are the same species of
It's crazy.
people. Like an it's him and Myles Garrett too. Like
They
they're the two best pass rushers right now, as far as I'm
when
concerned.
they called him, I think May was calling him after, or Will Campbell was calling them after the Transformers on the line. Those guys, because
Yeah,
they're just like they're built differently to everyone else. It's really
yeah,
remarkable, and also probably worth noting here, Will Campbell probably playing through an injury right now. He's healthy enough to play, but that doesn't mean he's at full strength. And you know, Pro Bowl tackles at full strength are going to struggle in that matchup.
yeah. I'm not too concerned with how Campbell played. Honestly, I think we didn't really put him in a position to be successful. I think we should have been moving the pocket, doing more of those rollouts with May, and we didn't really need to. I guess at the end, Stroud was giving the ball so much to the New England defense with some of his plays, but. Yeah, I just when I was doing the analysis for this game, I watched a lot of Houston football, and without Nico Collins and when Dalton Schultz went out in that first half, that wasn't the pregame analysis, but when he got hurt, I'm like, they have nobody to throw to. And he clearly got the see and go Sam Darnold experience after that fourth pick where he threw behind the receiver, and he was just off the rest of the game. The second half opened, he had a good sustained drive there, and then it all went kaput. I mean, this defense has been great through 2 games. They've given up 1 touchdown. I think a lot of the talk has just been about, again, it's been schedule talk, schedule talk. Drake May is the QB. I think he's the MVP. He should win MVP. I think it's going to go to Stafford. It is what it is. But the talk of this Patriots playoff run so far has been their defense, or it should be their defense. I mean, May's made the throws when he needs to make the throws. He's been unbelievable in the second halves of games. He's been very, very steady and consistent. But this defense has been unbelievable. They're putting up like, they're comparing them historically wise as the best defense, like, through 2 playoff games, since the '85 Bears. I think they're doing things the '85 Bears didn't do. It's they're forcing turnovers, they're not allowing scores, they're not allowing long drives. Um, Milton Williams, I do not know the last defensive tackle that has played this well. That is actually such a game wrecker. You just watch every snap. He's pushing whoever he's on 3 feet or a yard, 2 yards into the backfield. He is he is unbelievable, and I think he probably is the secret sauce of the Eagles last year that a lot of people didn't recognize, and the
Well,
fact
that
that they let yeah, yeah,
Well,
you
like
take it over.
the Eagles had like 4 of those guys too, which I do think helps and why it was such a historically good unit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Milton Williams has been unbelievable, and I do think with everyone healthy in the last 4 games, they've kind of figured out what works for this group. Uh, I will say I will caveat that with these games are against the Brady Cook Jets, the Quinn Ewers Dolphins, the worst offensive line in football in the Chargers, and the Texans, who had a bottom 10 offensive line and, no Trent Brown, no Nico Collins, and then no Dalton Schultz mid-game. So they've gotten fortunate there. And when we talk about next weekend, how this projects against an offensive line that is significantly better than what they faced the last couple weeks, I'm not sure. But like the way that this has been put together, you've got 2 defensive tackles who almost require double teams at certain points, and they're just changing the math for offenses right now by blitzing the hell out of them. Because when they bring that blitz, especially with mugging up linebackers in the A gap or just showing all kinds of things, it becomes a lot more difficult to figure out who's blocking who. And when that happens, a lot of times then you get the one-on-one matchups with your defensive tackles. And that's the secret to how they're getting pressure right now, which is then also getting your one-on-ones for Caleb on Jason, who has been awesome in the playoffs. But I think you go back, I believe it was the first third down against the Chargers in the wild card matchup. They show blitz zero, and who doesn't rush? Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, because the whole idea is, well, we think you guys are going to dedicate 3 or 4 blockers to these 2, so we're going to have them drop out, and now we're going to have 3 or 4 guys blocking no one, hopefully get a free rusher and still clog up the middle of the field, and it has been working for them, and then you pair that with corners who have been making plays on the ball for you, and they've been banged up there. Second week in a row, you got a corner go out with a concussion, so we'll see where Carlton Davis is for next week. But guys who've been making plays on the ball, I think Craig Woodson is playing as well as he has at any point this season. I think things have clicked for him. Jalen Hawkins playing well on the back end, and it's like, all right, now things start to flow. It's like, all right, if you're stopping the run early, now you're in the passing situations. Then you're bringing this blitz, which teams have not been able to account for, and you're solid enough on the back end to make it work. Um, and at least against poor offensive lines and inexperienced quarterbacks, it has been dominant for a month now.
Yeah. I again, I couldn't say it better myself there. It's just been unbelievable with what I've been seeing. Again, the Brady Cook and Quinn Ewers, it's hard to really
Yeah.
judge how good they are versus how bad the opponent is. But Stroud and Herbert being the opposing QBs, they found success against good defensive lines. I know that
Mhm.
there was a lot of talk about benching Stroud in the middle of that game. I know that they were never gonna do that. I did not assume that was a serious conversation just because that's kind of a end of the road if you do that in a playoff game, especially when the playoff game's on a blowout. If it was 35-0, then yeah, I could see them just saying, "Okay, we're gonna go with Davis Mills," and they
Right.
could say Stroud was injured. But when it's still close, it's kind of a hard sell on your franchise QB who
Yeah.
proclaimed put himself in the top 5 after his rookie year, I think
Well,
that's
and
a
when
a
you
very hard
whatever
one.
decision you make in that moment, like, you're not just it's not just about how you win this game. You have to think about week 1 the next year at that point when you're the coach, when you're making that decision, because you can't if you go to Mills in that moment and you come back and win, well, first of all, that's
Oh my
great. Second
god.
of all, you got a whole conversation. But if you go to Mills and things are bad, now you got issues. And yeah, I mean, I think you still have issues regardless with how Stroud played in the playoffs. He had 8 picks all season, and he gets to the playoffs and just totally falls apart the second you have to face good defenses. And
Yeah.
when you lose your safety blankets, that's when you got a defense that's throwing as much at you as the Patriots are, any quarterback likes to have a guy that's just, I know where he's gonna be, I know I can get it to him, I can trust he's gonna make a play. Stroud lost both of his guys there, and no one else was doing it.
Yeah, it's a I was listening to a podcast, I wish I could, remember which one it was. I consumed so much content after, Patriots postseason win, but it was that the Texans got really lucky because they drafted Stroud 2nd overall, but they still got the best player in that draft in Will Anderson, and, um because both Bryce Young and Stroud are clearly not the best players in that draft, and they still got
Right.
Will Anderson, and that's their blessing in disguise, basically. But I don't know what they're gonna do with Stroud. Obviously, they're gonna pick up the 5th-year option, it seems. I think you kinda have to. He's played
You have
himself
to.
he's better than Bryce Young, I think, but that's the conversation that they're gonna have to start having 'cause, he has 3 playoff wins. I mean, that's more than a lot of guys, but are wins a quarterback stat? That's the other conversation piece,
Well,
and who has he beat?
yeah, and I think you look at Stroud's performances, I don't think you can attribute many or any of those playoff wins to what he did. It's been the defense, or it's
Yeah,
been facing inferior opponents, and I
yeah.
think Stroud can be a good quarterback. I think it's just clear he needs to be protected. Like, you kinda need to give him the Jared Goff treatment of keeping him protected, making things simple, and then when he's back there, he can be a gunslinger and rip throws for you, and, when his feet are set and he knows where he's going, he's pretty accurate with the ball. It's just that Texans offensive line it's not good, and they were better this year. They started to find something by the end of the season, but we're still talking about a unit that's one of the 10 worst in the league, and they can't run the ball. Like, it's the thing you always love with a young quarterback or any quarterback is if you can set up that play action game, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of threat there right now because you don't feel like you have to sell out to defend the run. Like, there's no you're not the defenders don't really feel conflicted. You can play the run not super aggressively and still contain it, and then that bogs down the entire offense, which, that offense for a long time now, when it's at its best, has been Stroud and Nico Collins together on 3rd and long, bailing out poor 1st and 2nd down execution and play calling.
That's very true. Yeah, it seems like Stroud's good at the deep ball and pretty much nothing else, and that's concerning if it's just, that's not luck. I mean, he's good at that, but it is a weird combination that they have there the last couple of years since his rookie year where he was better in intermediate passes and actually reading the whole scope of the defense. I don't know what the fix is there. If I was a Texans fan, I'd be pretty disappointed with the end of the season because that defense there's too much thrown around of all-time defenses, but they really have a good front seven, and they have two great cornerbacks. That defense could have carried them. Obviously, if they would have played against a Jared Stidham-led Broncos team, I think they could have stifled a very inexperienced quarterback next week. And then you just you look at them versus I know they played the Rams and the Seahawks earlier this season. They could very well have got Sam Darnold's number, and they could have very well beat a banged up Rams team. So this is kind
Uh,
of a disappointing end of their year.
I will say, you look back at that Texans Seahawks game earlier this year, which probably is that might be the least watched football game on the East Coast of
Oh
any
my
games.
god.
That was the 10 p.m. Eastern Monday night game. So that was, as a football sicko, I
Yeah.
didn't even watch that. But Seahawks up 14-0 early in that game, and the Texans defense gets a touchdown, and yet even with that, it's 27-12 late in the fourth quarter. Like that game kind of turned into a blowout, and I really think the core of this for Houston is that they need a much better offensive line to play the way they want to. I also I'm generally speaking a fan of D'Amico Ryans. I ranted about this last night on the podcast. I thought he had a terrible game
Oh
management.
yeah.
And it's you burn 2 different in a game where you're on the road as underdogs and playing from behind. You burn 2 second half timeouts because you can't get the play call in on 3rd down, and then you don't convert either 3rd down out of that. And then you've got again, in this spot, you're down by 2 scores, you get 4th and 2 down near the goal line, and you're not going for it, you're kicking. These are I know that you're not good in short yardage. I know this is a tough spot for you. These are the plays like, you gotta make winning plays there, especially when the other team has a 4th down touchdown on you. Like, you gotta find a way to answer that, and
Yeah.
if I you like, that whole sequence where you waste a timeout on 3rd and 2, don't get the 3rd and 2, and then don't go for it on 4th down and settle for 3 points. That felt like it kinda took the wind out of their sails, and then the punt at the end of the game too was just one of the most cowardly I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, those 2 plays, I actually totally forgot that they settled for the field goal there, and they didn't go for it after the timeout. That actually is that totally just went over my head that was the outcome there, that they don't have a 4th down play after the 3rd down play. Um, yeah, he did not call a good game or coach a good game there, and I think he's in the top half of coaches in the NFL. I know that there was
I would
talk
tend
in
to
the early
agree.
season of this being the end for him if he would have because they started out the season really struggling, the Texans, but
Yeah.
he turned it around, obviously. He's a really good leader of men, it seems, and I think that that's what you want. You either want the great offensive play caller or a leader of men, and he's the latter, or he's a form yeah, he's the latter. But, I I can't it's inexplicable some of the decisions he made in terms of that again, the 4-minute punt, you're really just banking on the Patriots turning the ball over, which I guess is fine because of how good the defense is getting after the ball, but at that moment, they're keeping the ball on the ground, and if you're McDaniels and Vrabel, you're just telling May and Stevenson and Henderson, 2 hands on the ball, you can just go to the ground, we don't even need yards, we're just gonna milk a minute
So
20
for
off the
3
clock
times.
and punt 'em back.
Well, you only have 1 timeout left at that point. So even if you kneel on the ball 3 times, that's gonna take what, like, a little over a minute 20 off the clock minimum with 4 minutes left in the game anyway. Alright, we could take 25% of the rest of this game out right now, and sure, we'll give you the ball back, and
Yeah,
you're not gonna be in good field position, and now you need 2 touchdowns. Well, like, you need to go touchdown, onside kick, touchdown. Just
yeah.
putting yourself in that spot. Um,
It was
I don't know, I
inexplicable,
just
some of the coaching decisions, and I
oh,
think
and I s
I
there's
was
a
just gonna say, I think it was that Stroud was just so bad, like, that they didn't have any confidence on getting the long 4th down conversion, and I kinda get it, but I also am like, "You just have to try. Hopefully
if you
get a
give the
PI or
ball back,
something."
the game is over.
Yeah.
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 And they didn't I don't did they get the ball back after that? I think that was their last play. I think the Patriots just ran the cl did the
No, they
Patriots
got the
run the
ball
clock out?
back because I remember, they threw like a super deep shot on Spillane had single coverage
Yeah, yeah,
against
yeah. Yep,
Hutchinson or something, and I don't know why he
yeah,
was in single coverage that deep downfield, but yeah, it was he broke it up. But
yeah. I'm remembering that now. I was like, I bookmarked before the game. D'Amico Ryan's in an interview during the week talking about how like, he saw the way coaches act in the wild card round. It was like, coaches are being too aggressive. You have to just take the points. And I bookmarked it at the time because I was like, this is going to come back to haunt him. And look at that. You lose a game on the road. Like, you're settling for 3 and the Patriots are getting touchdowns off 4th down plays.
yeah, and I'll be honest, in the moment when they went for it on that fourth down, I was kind of wanting them to kick because I thought points were going to be more at a premium. Obviously, the result, you play the result and you're like, wow, Josh McDaniels, great play call, Pop Douglas, Drake, all that. But I do think that I'm more of the I'm obviously I'm more of a gambler, but I think that there's a there's a good time to take points and good time not to take points. I think we saw a good time to take points probably in that Bears game when you continue to get stifled on like 4th and 4 and stuff.
Yeah.
It probably you have to play the gut sometimes where it's like you don't just go analytics. But in that game, there were the Texans Pats. There's you kind of have to get it when you're in that position. You have to go for it. The points are kind of at a premium. You're getting the turnovers at the goal line. You're not sustaining long offensive drives. This is where you have to kind of push the ball
Yeah.
into the end zone. And I have no idea why they did that. But I didn't hear that interview. If I would have heard that,
Uh,
I would have put probably my life savings on the Patriots money line at least because
well,
that's not good.
well, to me too, in a game like Patriots Texans, where you know it's going to be a defensive battle, um, like you have to remember, like, a touchdown is worth more than 2 field goals. So if you are able to get that touchdown, that means that, like, you can turn the ball over in your own territory, and you get a stop. Like, it's not gonna hurt you as bad because if they kick the field goal, they're still a touchdown away from being able to retake the lead. Like, it gives you so much more room, and I was texting my co-host, Pat, I made a joke during the game when the Texans it was 21-13. I think, yeah, and he was like, "Man, I can't believe this is a one possession game right now." It's like, no, this is the way the Texans are playing.
Three
This is a
possession
three
game.
possession game. They can't get into the end zone except for that. They had one really good play, and I thought that was probably it for them, the way Stroud was playing. And it's all right. If they're settling for field goals, the fact that you got that touchdown early, like that's your buffer. That allows you to play with more aggression on defense too. It changes the game script. I mean, obviously, it's always a risk, but you have to count on your guys to execute. And Pop Douglas making a barehanded catch on a tipped ball and that slants is the
Yeah.
maybe the underrated play of the day.
No, Pop Douglas not wearing gloves either, and his name, and
Old
like
school.
going by the name Pop Douglas. It just is the fun. It's like it just is. He's playing into the character of Pop Douglas. I love it. It's
That could
awesome.
be a football player from like 1945.
Yeah, yeah. Gloveless Pop Douglas. I love it. I was just
Yeah.
I was hyped. And then the other thing is with in terms of the where you were at in the game for where you were feeling when they punted the ball back down 10-7 before the Marcus Jones INT. What was your confidence level that the Patriots were going to win the game? It was still very early, but how were you
That
feeling?
was that was as low as it got for me.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that was because that was the Texans had moved the ball a couple drives in a row, and you forced a turnover in there already, but they had moved the ball consistently enough, and the Patriots at that point like had 2 good plays. I think a Ramondre run and the pop touchdown, and that was about it. And
Mhm.
it's all right. You just know game script wise, if you get down 17-7 this early, you're in a tough spot because these you don't want to give these Texans edge rushers any extra oomph coming off the edge. And if they know it's going to be a pass every time, they're going to have that. So you just know like you need a stop and you need one quickly there. But to immediately on the first play, like, I mean, and it's just the way you watch that, especially because Stroud had early already. He wasn't having a great day already. I think he had a pick at that point. Like Carlton Davis won, and some batted balls where you felt like you got
Yeah.
unlucky not grabbing them. And then on that one, it's just like you can feel your heart rate rising when you see broken play, Chase Hunt's in his face. Oh, he's throwing it, and then it was just someone come down with it. And the second, and yeah, Marcus Jones has the football in his hands. Something exciting is probably going to happen.
Yeah, there was another I don't remember the person that said it. I don't know if this was a podcast or just somebody on Twitter. But it was that Marcus Jones is like a Patriots player from any era. He's like
Yes.
he would be,
I think
and that
was that June Lee who said that? I believe
yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. It was, yeah. Give credit to where credit's due. And I was trying to think about who would be great in any era, but Marcus Jones is definitely one of those guys. Like he
He
said,
fits
it's
he
yeah,
fits that same like Julian Edelman, Troy Brown sized hole in the team. Yeah, obviously he plays defense instead of offense, but like it's that same role. Like he's a punt returner, and he just like the ball just seems to find him, and he continually makes plays and does whatever he's asked to do.
yeah. It's phenomenal, and it's exciting, and I'm happy they gave him the extension because I think it's well worth it. And the other side of the confidence interval, uh, the booty catch that he made. I've watched the
Lady.
replay probably 100 times. I might have broke out the Jergens last night when I was watching. The number one, the spiral that Drake May threw, and I don't want to give all the credit to quarterbacks making good throws. That was a great throw, but it was a little long. Like it was a little far for Booty, but it doesn't really matter because Booty has, I guess, like webbed hands that can catch anything.
Unbelievable.
It was just a beautiful play. The fact that it was on the same DB on the same side of the field that he threw his
In the
first
same end
touchdown
zone.
pass, same ends,
Yeah.
everything. And I wish they were wearing the red jerseys. I'll be honest. I wish those were the permanent homes, but. Uh, It was beautiful. So what was your confidence interval on that? That was probably the highest point, right? That's game?
Oh yeah. Well, and like I tweeted this earlier, but like my take on this before the game is that this isn't a batting average day for Drake May. It's a slugging percentage day. It doesn't really matter how many strikeouts you get. You just have to get a couple home runs, and you feel good about where you are. And yeah, I feel like every time he throws a deep ball, you think it's got a chance. If you watch back Patriots tape this season, every time he throws a deep ball, every other receiver's hands are going up in celebration when the ball is still like at its apex. And they have so much confidence in him on those. So it's like you see that ball go in the air and you know that it's going to have a shot because it's Drake May. But for Buddha to get that extension and come down with it, I mean, it's just instant moment where it's like that's you're a postseason legend just for making that play. And I was watching my with my fiance here. She's not the biggest football fan, but I'm introing her to football here, and that's like one of the first times where she saw it and immediately reacted. She got it. It was like, oh, that's a big play 'cause you know the situation, and like you just immediately know, like, how did he do that? That's unbelievable. My
Oh,
Instagram feed today has been nothing but different clips of that play, whether it's the NFL film shot or replays of the broadcast or fans in the stadium sharing their clips of it, and I've watched every single one of them, and I will
it's
for the rest of the week.
it's just an unbelievable catch, an unbelievable play. It's I don't even I hate doing comparisons to Brady in any capacity, but it really is like it felt Brady and Moss-esque to where it was so I mean, you beat the defender on a deep route. And Booty's not even that fast, but he just beats these DBs on just go routes because they're scared because he's a physical receiver, so they try to get up on him and not allow him to
Yeah,
get the curl or anything, and he just is able to get the go route. Drake May places the deep ball better than any quarterback I've ever seen in the history of football. I don't think I've ever
it's
seen somebody that
crazy.
does it this good, this consistently. He's missed, I think I can count on one hand the amount that he's missed, and they've usually been in inclement weather. He missed one yesterday, one or two
Yeah,
yesterday, and they were one of them wasn't really a miss to Kyle Williams. That was more of a it was just not perfect. I guess it's
yeah,
like if he
and
doesn't
you'd like to
fit it.
see him make that catch.
Yeah. So that's not even a miss really, but the misses are so few. It's like the Wolf of Wall Street, you know. My I remember my misses 'cause they're so few.
Okay, yeah, count my misses because there's so few. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
how many.
he's just unbelievable, and all this is just lining up for another sustained run. And you know, it's funny because of the Jets not getting to the playoffs since all this happened, all those tweets. But it's honestly unbelievable that we have a guy like Drake May, and we have a coach like Mike Vrabel, and we have a wide receiver room that now is just led by obviously a veteran in Diggs, but we have Booty, Kyle Williams, Pop Douglas. Mac Hollins might be back. I know he's eligible to return now. I don't know if he's going to play in the conference championship, but probably Super Bowl if we make it. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
The entire thing though is just it's lining up for this, and the elevation of May has been. I I mean, in my wildest dreams, I couldn't predict this. Like, I don't think anybody could predict this jump in the
This
second year. It's
ascension.
really
It's
Mahomesy-esque, where
it
it
is.
doesn't make sense. And I try to tell people this. My girlfriend, she likes football probably more than your fiance, it seems, but not the biggest football fan ever. It's not. She doesn't dive into like EPA per play and the advanced stats or game logs like the nerds do, like us. But um, the truth of the matter is it's impossible to even like put this into serious terms of how this jump is. He's one of the most
It
efficient quarterbacks ever, and he also throws the deep ball better than it really. If he had a Tyreek Hill, like if he had a speed demon that can get downfield, he would have 50 touchdown passes this year. Actually, like I really believe it,
I'm pretty
and
yeah.
it's
It's
unbelievable.
crazy.
Sorry for
When
the
I think
long ramble about this. I'm
no, I
like
love
I'm
it.
enamored with it. It doesn't make any
Well,
sense to me that we have this guy.
well, then putting it all in just the perspective of like the franchise. Like, do you know what was 22 years ago yesterday? It's the 2003 AFC Championship game. And that's a performance at Gillette Stadium. And you got an AFC South quarterback who plays in a dome coming to a snowy Foxborough. And you throw 4 picks and you have a fumble and you get a 5 turnover performance. And like, it's history repeating itself. It's defensively, it's very similar to your performance against the Indianapolis Colts and Peyton Manning back in '03, and to just repeat that 22 years to the date in that same condition, and then also May making those plays, and you watch that slow mo NFL film shot of Booty making the catch, and it's just like the more things change, the more they stay the same. Yeah, it's a different quarterback. Yeah, it's a different head coach. Yeah, they've renovated the stadiums. Yeah, it's different uniforms now, but it's still a snowy game, and you got the Pats out there with silver helmets, blue jerseys, silver pants, making plays in the snow in the playoffs. Like
It's beautiful.
and it's just incredible to have it come full circle. Like it's just like we ran it back to the top, and we're just starting from the top all over again. And who knows how far this goes, but it's unbelievable that we're here.
No, I just I can't believe it. I cannot actually fathom that this is that we're now in the AFC Championship game, a year removed after 3-14, whatever it was, 4 and
Four
13, 3
four
and
and
14.
13 with one of those wins not really being a win.
Yeah, I know it was a loss of a win, unfortunately. But I actually
Yeah.
got Will Campbell, and I'm happy with that. I think that was
Well, I mean, if you get the number 1 pick, you can get Will Campbell and have traded back. So
that's true. Yeah,
that
I'm
would be
not.
nice.
Yeah, that's
Would be
very
better.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the you look at the draft class they had this year. It's a great draft class. You look at, I mean, realistically, some of the stuff Belichick left the team with. He drafted decent in some of the key players he got in his last year here. Honestly, I'm
Yep.
for all the nonsense that he did the last couple of years drafting wise. Big respect to the goat there
It
on some of the guys he got.
it really
I
is
can't blame him.
crazy that that last draft class was literally just too little too late. And I do
Yeah,
think, I think there were a lot of issues with Belichick stuff by the end outside of, the results on the field, just process-wise. It seemed like things had kind of bogged down. But like that last draft is really good and is probably the type of thing you would love to be building around. It's just that you hit a fork in the road where, all right, well, we don't have a quarterback, and we're gonna have to restart with a new one, and you're like 70 whatever years old at that point. So who knows if you're still going to be coaching by the time the next quarterback we draft is done with his rookie contract. So you feel like, all right, we have to go separate ways here. It was time.
do you think
Um,
Bill would have traded that pick for the haul that was going to be offered for the third pick? Or do you think,
I
yeah,
don't
like obviously
know
this is
because
hypothetical.
I don't know if he liked May as much as the Patriots did, but when he talked about May, he did still like him.
Hmm.
And it's just not like she was more experienced than Mac Jones. He was a 2-year starter. Mac was only a 1-year starter, far more athletic player. I liked I like to think Belichick would have made that pick, but by the end, also some of the decisions he was making were hard to understand,
Yeah,
and I just I don't quite know what would have gone into that for him.
I would be honestly, I would be, I wouldn't be able to watch football if we would have traded this pick to the Vikings or the Giants, and they're in this situation. and we would have
That
had.
would be really
I don't
tough.
even know who they drafted. I guess JJ McCarthy was one of those picks,
JJ
but
McCarthy. Well, and like
yeah,
J JJ McCarthy's, I mean, I'm a Michigan fan, so I'm biased,
yeah,
but I liked him a lot coming out. He's just gotten, I mean, he hasn't been good, but the idea was we're gonna sit him and let him develop. And instead he's spent most of his first 2 seasons recovering from injuries. And it's
hmm
like, all right, well, that was the time you're supposed to be developing. You haven't developed. We're halfway into your rookie contract now, and we have no confidence in you to be able to start and finish a football game. So
yeah. No,
I'm sure they're going to be looking for other options.
I'm not totally out on McCarthy. I think he has talent. I think it's also what you just said, what you just pointed out. It wasn't really development time. It was rehab for him, and
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. So maybe he bounces back
it's the
this year.
way
I mean, they have a good receiver room. Um,
the best ability is availability, they say. Which, you know,
that's
that
very
was the
true.
reason why I liked Drake May a lot more than Jaden Daniels. Someone with his frame, I was like, this is someone to me, his play style and his frame. This is someone who I think is probably going to get injured in the NFL, and the highs are going to be really high, but reliability to me is going to be a question. And 2 years in, we've seen both sides of that coin.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I was trying to remember one of the things about the draft pick thing and all that jazz, and it was 2 years ago when we got Drake May, and the first time I met my current girlfriend's family. I'm sure I've told this story on the podcast before, but this is a good story that you're gonna like. Uh, and I remember for 2 reasons. I had a big bet that I should have hedged out of, but I did not, where the last leg was the Broncos beating the Patriots on Christmas Eve,
Christmas
if I
Eve.
remember. Yep,
Yep.
yep, okay, yeah, you remember it very vividly. It went into overtime. Our kicker, was not great, and of course, he kicks a game-winning field goal, in terrible conditions in the wind where, what was it, 53 yards or something like that? It was an unbelievable
Maybe
kick where
longer. I think it might have been
it
56. I still remember Bryce Baringer hyping him up as they were coming off the field. And I still remember the look on Chad Ryland's face where it was like he made that kick and he still looked nervous. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was Ryland, Chad Ryland, and I know he missed kick. I know he missed kicks later in the season, which gave us the pick back that we ended up not having the first pick, obviously, but we got back in that top 3, which really meant something to me. But after they lost, I lost quite a bit of money, too much money that I should have not during the holiday season, which take the gifts back. But the whole the whole thing was I was like, you don't understand. I went basically nonverbal. I said, you don't understand. This is gonna put the franchise back another half decade if they don't get one of these 3 quarterbacks. I really wanted May. I would have. I would have. Caleb was great, and then Daniels was number 3. I would have rated up Caleb 1, May 1B, Caleb or Daniels 3rd on the draft rank list, right? Because
Mhm.
Caleb looked just such an athlete. Um, but May was a prototypical guy, and he was basically Justin Herbert, Josh Allen size, cannon arm, and he's an athlete. And I like seeing what he was doing in college a lot. His junior year or his sophomore year, especially, where he had
Yeah.
NFL talent a little bit around him, and he just looked the part of just an elite thrower of the football with the size and the frame. Obviously, Daniels is amazing. He's just small, like um
Thin.
weight wise,
And
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 Caleb is
and
just
then
shorter.
yep. And then my other issue with Daniels too is that he played 5 years in college and he didn't break out until he was in the perfect situation. And it was just
Yeah,
like, all right, there's a chance that all this deep ball accuracy is the fact that you're throwing to Malik Neighbors and Kyron Lacey and some guys who are Brian Thomas, like guys who are
God,
really, really good. And it's like, all right, you're a good quarterback, but the reason you look great is because of the supporting cast.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
It's
but then you
interesting
talk
though what's
about
happened.
when you talk about May, like I was actually out on him at first. I didn't see it, and then I watched more tape. Like I think December that year, I was like, I don't know. I was like, this might actually be like a one quarterback draft, and I don't know if I actually like Daniels or May. And then I got deeper into the tape on May, and I got it, and it was just like because I think once you identify in the tape that most of his accuracy concerns weren't really accuracy, it was like him knowing what the offense was doing, like how stale the offense was his second year as a starter. There's no adjustments whatsoever. So he's trying to force balls in, or it's like there's uncertainty because he doesn't trust the guys around him, and that's why he's missing on things, which I think is what you've seen in the NFL level. Like 80% of his accuracy issues are when he doesn't read a defense correctly and his feet are late. Um, it's like once I kind of figured that out, and then you see the big plays that he can make. And like I said it a lot on our show, but his basketball background, the fact that he's so
Yeah.
comfortable playing in traffic and just making plays at weird angles, um, I thought shows up all over the film. Him as a runner too. I think the touchdown he had at Pitt, where he's like flipping the ball into the
Oh,
end zone, like plays like that. It's like, all right, he just has a really natural, intuitive feel for space around him.
yeah.
And I was like, all
Yeah.
right, when you look at the athleticism, it's like, all right, this is someone who can step in. I I never thought he was going to be a big developmental. Like I thought he was going to need development, but I thought he could play day one because his supporting cast was terrible, and he still elevated them. And his athleticism as a runner meant that he could turn negatives into neutral plays or positive plays. And I was like, all right, I think he can play from day one. I also thought it was going to be like the Josh Allen 3-year development plan,
Hmm.
and I know you had mentioned before the episode we want to talk about preseason expectations for this team. I want to segue that in here real quick. I had the Patriots as like a 7-win team this year,
Hmm.
mostly because I liked Drake May and I thought this could be his ceiling, and I didn't think we would get this until next year. And the game in Miami and then the game against Carolina. It's really the game in Miami where you see like he wasn't very good against the Raiders. He was inconsistent.
Hmm.
He didn't know what he was reading. The Josh McDaniels offense basically it can solve every problem, but the quarterback has to actually read everything out and make all the adjustments and get to the solution. And he didn't do it week one. And I was like, that makes sense. He's never been asked to do anything like this in his career. He's a young kid playing against real NFL defenses. He's overwhelmed. That's fine. It's going to take time. Then you come out week two and just like the issues are gone. He just did it overnight. He was like, "Oh, I got it now." He did it. He had one bad game against a real defense, and it all clicked. And it's like once I saw that, and then you saw the rest of the team come together a bit against Carolina. It was like I think they can go to Buffalo and beat Buffalo. Like I don't think this is one of those games where it's a measuring stick of how far away are you. I think they can just go beat them, and then they go beat them. And the second they do that, it's like all right, with how May looks in that game, all of a sudden the trajectory like that his development in
I
the
know.
first month of the season is like, all right, well, you can add 5 wins to the expectations for this team. Because if he keeps playing like this, he's the top 10, top 5 quarterback in football. And it just, for the most part, there just weren't dips the rest of the way. And he just kept it up.
Yeah, I remember it was a tweet from you, I'm almost positive, where you were like, "I can't figure out their roster because of the talent at at the lower half of it." And I remember that
Yeah.
vividly, not to call you out on that, but I think I think there is a like a there was especially beginning of the season where you're like there is like a talent disparity. They have $50 million in cap space or something like that still. So they have a lot of money to use in the offseason. Extensions, Gonzalez is going to be the highest paid corner ever. Drake May will be the highest paid quarterback ever, barring significant setbacks and injuries for both of them. But that's the thing. They're going to pay a lot of money in those extensions, but they're going to also make moves in the offseason. I wish they would have spent a little more money this offseason for players to play on this team because I feel like if they end up not winning the Super Bowl, it's because they're going to be one player away, or that's going to be what we're going to
Yeah.
be regretting that. But the idea of before the year, during the year, all that you just went into the segue there. Going into the year, I was around 9 wins just because of what I looked at the schedule and that middle part of the schedule after the Bills game, and
So weak.
they just looked like teams where you look at the quarterbacks playing there and you expect to I was just thinking, we should sweep this. I think after the Bills game until the Bucks game, and then there was 3 games after that. I was like, these should all be wins. Just looking at
Yeah.
them from without knowing what happens. However, after the Raiders game, I was like, well, they're going to be battling for the 7 seed. These two teams, the Raiders and the Patriots, is what I thought would be the battle for the 7 seed. And I cannot believe what happened after that. After the Pittsburgh game, I was saying Ramondre probably should be cut. You can't continue to give the ball to this guy. He's fumbled way too many times throughout his career. I wouldn't take 10 running backs in the NFL over Ramondre Stevenson anymore. The things he does in the pass
Right.
game, the things he does in the pass blocking game, the his, the size that he is, the fact that he hits the hole so hard, he's unbelievable now, and he doesn't fumble anymore. And knock on wood, that doesn't happen going forward. But I'm saying like he's been. after that game, it's like he turned it around completely. And I do credit that to him, obviously. I credit that to Vrabel, continue to have confidence in the guy. McDaniels continue to give him chances. Under Belichick, I'm going to tell you right now, speaking of Belichick, Ramondre would have probably never seen the field again. And that's something
He's
I could say with pretty
he's gonna
much
ride the
good
bench for a bit,
confidence.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, you
And
look at Ramondre's history, he's someone who, when he fumbles, it always comes in bunches. Like, his whole career,
yeah,
it's been like this, where he'll go 12 games without fumbling and then have 5 in 3 games. And there's like, I
yeah.
think there's like 3 stretches like that he's had in his career, which does make me a little bit anxious when it's been this long since he's had a little fumbling spurt, that it could happen at any point. But when he is not fumbling, he's really good, because you don't get guys who are that agile and light-footed in a running back that size very often. I was talking to my friends the other day, and I was like, he's almost like the love child of LeGarrette Blount and Danny Woodhead.
That's a good
Like,
one. I like
it's
that.
like
I like that.
it's just like a very weird combination of the traits of the two of those. Like, he's not a power back, but he's not a shifty back, but
Yeah.
he does a little bit of both. And
No, yeah, yeah.
it works.
He's been since that week 3 disaster class that I still can't believe they lost that game only by one score
Yeah.
with all the turnovers, and that they had a real chance to win it. Uh, I, he's just been completely just rejuvenated and amazing. And yeah, you're right about the Drake May stuff and in the Dolphins game. He looked like a different quarterback from one week to the next. The Steelers game, I think he got hit in the head pretty hard, and I wish we had Dobbs in for that one down and one down only, because it seemed like he was
Yeah.
shaken up. I don't know if that's a concussion. I think like you can get, I think Drake May might have said this. A quarterback did say this, where it's like you can get like
Your bell rung.
shaken up. Huh? Was it?
You get your bell rung.
Yeah, bell rung is not a concussion. I think there is a difference. I understand that maybe I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. But I think that he had his bell rung in that situation for sure. He did get hit pretty hard, and
Yeah.
I want him protected. So if he was concussed, take him out. Don't let him play the rest of the game. But my point being, that was a bell rung throw, because that was a terrible throw at the end of that half. However, going forward, yeah, he's just been the Panthers game that you highlight, and since that Panthers game, it's been so few mistakes. In these playoff games, these are very good pass rushes, and I do see a lot of the next step for May, and it's probably, I mean, it's second year, and he started 20 games, 22. Like, it's been very few starts for him. The next step is like learning how to take the sack more so and not double clutching, because there was a
Yeah.
few against the Chargers, especially. I think this happened
Both
one play.
both
Yeah, but
playoff games, it's been rough.
yeah, he needs to have the mental clock that, especially if he's engaged with like a defensive lineman already, to know that there's going to be another one coming off the edge. And this happened. Who's the Chargers defensive end that forced it to?
Was it Did Owe do it? Odafe Owe?
Yeah. Oh way, and he's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but he was getting hit already, and then he
And he
was like,
tries to throw it.
yeah, he already brought the ball down, so he's like taking the sack, and he's like, I'm not down, so I'm gonna try to throw it. It was very Favrean what he was doing there,
Yes.
and he needs to get that out of his game, because that's the type of quarterback that you don't want him to be, because it's make big plays. You rip the ball, I mean, it's awesome, but you also can lose games on those. And against the Broncos, just like the Texans, their only way to win this game, um, in the AFC Championship game, is going to be defensive touchdowns, basically defensive
Forcing
scores.
turnovers. Yeah.
Yeah, and
When
on plus side of the field. So yeah,
I will say, this is a Broncos defense that, relatively speaking to other top defenses this year, is not good at forcing turnovers. They just haven't forced a bunch this year.
hmm
So that probably works in your favor, although the Will Anderson play where he gets around Will Campbell in a heartbeat and strip sacks it, you look at the quickness of these edge rushers, especially Nick Benito, and it's like, man, all it takes is one of those, and that could entirely swing that game. So that's something you get worried about. And I think I feel a lot differently about this game if Bo Nix was playing. I think Denver's a tough matchup for New England, because Sean Payton's a really good offensive coach, and the Patriots defense, as good as it has been, it's not like a sound unit. Like, they'll blow coverages. They'll make mistakes. They're just counting on the fact that the quarterback's not going to recognize it because he's going to be so confused by what's going on that he's not going to get there. And it's there's some Belichick in that too. You watch the Belichick defenses the last 5 years. There's a ton of that where it's like we might blow a coverage here, but we just don't think you're ever going to see that receiver open. Um, Sean Payton's the kind of coach who I think can coach up some plays to create things like that and get one on you. And if there's a type of rusher that scares you against these tackles, it's the true speed rushers, especially in that environment at
Mhm.
altitude where they can get a jump. And I think we all have nightmares about that 2015 AFC Championship game and what a pair of speedy edge rushers can do to any quarterback. So like that's probably the biggest. I'd say for the most part for Drake May, when he has made mistakes, he has corrected them quickly. The only real area where we've seen him keep going back to the same mistakes is handling the ball in the pocket. And he's young, or he's going to have a lot of time to fix it. But you also don't know when you're going to get back here. So that's one of those where it's like, all right, I mean, I have confidence that you can fix that in your NFL career.
Mhm.
Would be really nice if you could fix that for next Sunday.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, like, the key to the you I always try to do, especially in playoff games. I guess I should do this every game when if I'm prognosticating and gambling on these games, I should do this normally, but in playoff games where there's so few, especially with my team involved in it, uh, I try to say, "How many points do you need to guarantee
Mhm.
victory?" And I mean, to guarantee victory, 47 points. That would guarantee you victory over the Broncos. But for in a real sense, I think if you can get to 20 points, you're
Yes.
probably winning this game with like a 90% confidence ranking.
Yes.
Um, if you know that, if you're the offense, it just has to be ball security. Punting's not a loss, and you just need to make sure that they're gonna hammer that home. They're the coaches, they're the players, they're smarter than myself. But I think, um, I was concerned because of how that didn't seem like it was hammered home against Houston, and some of the plays were unstoppable. I mean, Will Anderson, like you said on one of them, one of those pass rushes, he did just get by, and I think the ball got knocked out within, like, a second and a
Under
half.
3 seconds. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
And
it was absurd, and you
there was a
can't blame
Daniel
them.
Hunter one that was a little bit similar to that too, which I think May could have made a better play on, but I was like, man, he's really good. He's going to do that sometimes. But
Yeah,
the
and I'm
volume,
I'm not
it's
mad
too
if
much.
that happened. Yeah, I'm not mad if somebody gets, like, strip sacked and it's a truly amazing play because you see you can't expect that as a QB. The Aaron Rodgers strip sack that Houston had, where I think it was Will Anderson beat the left tackle immediately off the jump, and it just you can't people would blame the quarterback no matter what because there's box score watchers, but it's like, actually, you just cannot account for that, and, um
Defensive guys get paid too.
yeah. This is why they're the third highest paid position, I think, is defensive ends, or are they second now? It's them and the tackles.
It's
So,
it's right up there. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm just looking at this game, it's you have to as defense, I think you just keep doing what you're doing. You disguise coverages. You make Stidham have to beat you. And um, I know that they opened up the practice window for Dobbins. I That
Mhm.
means he might play. Usually when they open the practice window up, it's a week. So I don't think he's gonna come back, but say they have him back. It's Harvey and Dobbins. They're gonna run the ball a ton. If you put the completion over or the attempts over under for Stidham, I don't know what it would be. I'm assuming it's gonna be under 20. I don't think they're gonna be trying to throw the ball and just put this guy in the position to win it with his arm. That's the Patriots' job to try to make that happen. Get them in third and long, second and longs. Try to get the pressure that they got against the Texans offensive line. That's not going to happen
Yeah.
because Broncos offensive line is a lot better than Houston's, but um, you still can get some pushback, and you know that they're going to be running on most first and tens. I mean, don't get bit
Yeah.
by play action, but it's Sean Payton's
Yeah.
going to try trick plays too. You know, there's going to be trick plays in this game by the plenty. I'll never forget the Jameis Winston trick play in the NFC where they brought Jameis Winston. And it was so obviously a trick play, and the Bucks. This is obviously with Tom on Tampa, but it was the most obvious trick play ever. And Todd Bowles, who I do not like as a coach that much, his defense, they did not they bid on it, and they scored a touchdown, and they could have lost that game. So, basically, you know that Sean Payton's gonna drop all the tricks here. He's not gonna leave any play
Yeah.
uncalled.
Yeah, you're emptying the playbook on Sunday if you're Denver. And I think, there's I think you wanna survive the first 3 or 4 possessions if you're New England's defense. You're probably gonna see the weirdest stuff then. You're gonna see the designer stuff. When you're gonna see the plays where Peyton says, "We think we see a weakness in the defense, and we're gonna design this play. We're telling Stidham, throw it to this guy, and we think he is open." And if you're not getting beat by those, like, limit the damage on those, because I'm sure you're probably not gonna shut them out. So,
Yeah.
limit the damage. Don't give up touchdowns, make it be field goals, where the red zone defense has been so much better here in the playoffs than it was in the regular season, with the unit fully healthy there. And
It's
then
Milton
it's just
Williams. It's Milton
well,
Williams.
it's,
He
I
just
think it's the spine of the defense as a whole, like Milton Williams, but also Kyrus Tonga being back now, and Robert Spillane being back now. Like your run defense is so much more solid up the middle, which
true.
then has a cascading effect to everyone else. But if you can slow down Denver's rushing attack, like, I don't think you're going to shut it down the way you did with the Chargers and the Texans just because their line's better. But if you can slow it down, all you need is to force Stidham to beat you. Like, that's what this is going to be. And if you can get through the first 3 or 4 possessions and have, hopefully no touchdowns for Denver in that time, I think you're probably going to win the game unless Denver's defense scores on you. Because once you get to the third or fourth quarter, you're probably going to have an idea of what Denver thinks Stidham's strengths are, how they
Mhm.
want to call the game, the types of plays they want to get to. And we've seen this New England defense all year. They'll struggle at the start, but once they figure out what you want to do and what you think the weaknesses are and adjust to it, they'll turn the lights out on you. And I think
Yeah.
that's even more true with a young, not even young, but just an unproven backup like Stidham. So if you can get out of the first 20 minutes of this game tied, not having allowed any touchdowns, not turning the ball over on offense, I think you're going to end up winning. I think at that point it's just a question of, all right, are you squeaking one out 20-10, or are you able to kind of explode on offense and maybe win a game 30-6 or 30-10 or whatever it ends up being.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I think that'll probably be the key. The first few possessions for Denver and how New England's defense responds. And also on the other side, it's just again not turning the ball over and just playing within yourself and attacking Riley Moss. They
Yes,
do have an actual
Keisha,
weak spot.
and you're trying to get Keisha Booty over there, and you're trying to get Stephon Diggs over there. You want your physical guy in Booty because Moss will grab you and he'll draw the penalties. And then Diggs is someone who's so quick that Moss will probably get grabby if Diggs is beating him on plays. You can get one of those matchups, try to exploit it. I also think like this past week, I did think like the game plan doesn't look that good from Josh McDaniels. And I think a lot of that's like when you're just that badly outclassed in the trenches, there is no good game plan. There's no solve for that. So, like, the idea like, if you look at the game plan, it felt like every drive they were trying something different until they finally found something that worked.
Yeah.
And, like, against the Chargers, you have 10 offensive possessions. Against Houston, you end up having 15 of them because the game pace is slower because the Texans can't hold on to the ball, and even outside of that, they weren't picking up first downs anyway. So you end up with
Yeah.
a lot more opportunities on offense, and it's just like you don't need to string together plays. For the most part, you just need a couple explosives, which is all they needed. And they just
Hmm.
kind of keep tinkering until you find your recipe there. Against Denver, I feel like you can have a much more traditional game plan. Their defense is good, but I think it's going to be a lot of like there's one edge rusher you fear more than the other. So it's going to be rolling away from him or doubling him or even run the ball at him, you know, run power right at him and try to wear him down or just slow him down so that he has to think twice before he's jumping off the ball. I think you do that. We've seen McDaniels do this when you go against like JJ Watt in the playoff games. It's like, oh, I forgot JJ Watt's playing in that game because you just totally take him out and then target the linebackers, target the middle of the field. Like Hufanga's a really good player, but he's really inconsistent. So you can get him on things and get explosives over there. And if you do all that and Denver's defense can't force a turnover, which they haven't really been able to do this year, I think you're going to score on them. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be like, some of the Jets game this year, but it'll be better than the last two. That's kind of where I land, especially with better conditions too. Nice 50 degrees sunny day in Denver, I think is the forecast.
Yeah, I'm going to the game and I don't have a winter jacket, so that makes me feel better. I hope the forecast does not change because I'm gonna pick up a cheap thing like a vest or something from Old Navy, but I'm hoping it stays nice 50-degree weather, so I don't
Oh,
have to uh, ball out on a nice pair of
man.
gloves or something. The the
And I think you'd rather see the Rams. The Seahawks are unbelievable. Right now by DVOA, Seattle is one of the 5 best teams ever,
oh
and
wow, I
the
didn't
uh,
know that.
the 4 teams above them on that list, all of them went to the Super Bowl. 3 of them won it. The only one that didn't was the '07 Pats. So this Seattle team is unbelievable. So I just think the Rams are worse. I think if you play the Rams, that game probably comes down to the wire. Who wins, I don't know, but I think you probably get a close game. It's relatively evenly matched teams, evenly matched quarterbacks, evenly matched coaches. I think you just get a good game. Seattle, I think you're more liable for a blowout in either direction
Mhm.
because if they do what they've done all season, they probably blow you out. And I don't think that says anything negative about the Patriots. It's just that's who Seattle is this year. I also think if you keep it close with Seattle, it's Sam Darnold, and you're liable to get a Sam Darnold. Like I said this on the show last night. The fear for Seattle is that your entire team has a trap door where your hopes and dreams can fall out of it, and that is just Sam Darnold having one of those games at any point. And this Patriots defense we've seen can do that to people. So if you play a close enough game that Seattle gets uncomfortable on offense and Sam Darnold has to try to win you that game, he can lose you that game. And a game that might be, 14-14 at the start of the third quarter might turn into a Patriots blowout win because when he implodes, it all falls apart pretty quickly. That said, I think your odds of a Seattle blowout win there are a lot higher than your odds of a Patriots blowout win. And I have a stat on this matchup because I was looking this up last night. Did you know that the last 10 Patriots Seahawks matchups have been a one-score game in the final 2 minutes?
No, that's an actual amazing stat though. And
Yes,
I'm
in
gonna
the
tell
last
all my friends are from we all live in Washington are from Washington. I'm gonna have to tell them that one.
in the last 11 have been a one-score game in the final 5. There was one I think in '92 where it
That's
was
unbelievable.
yeah, the Seahawks scored 2 touchdowns late and pulled away. But we all know the Super Bowls, but you've got last year they played and that game goes to overtime. You've got 3 consecutive games between the teams that end with a goal line stand at the 1 yard line and the offense not getting in.
Oh
And
yeah, the Cam Newton game. I
yep,
remember that very
the
vividly.
Cam Newton
Yeah.
game, the Sunday night game in 2016, which is the
Yep.
only game Brady lost as a starter that season.
Yeah.
Or a game he played fully. You've got the Super Bowl in 2012. You've got the Legion of Boom coming out party essentially against New England. In '08, I had to look this up. Without Brady, Matt Castle leads a game-winning drive with I think less than 3
I was
minutes to
at that
go.
game. Wasn't
Yep,
it
and
Gostowski
then
kicked like 8 field goals? I think
something
he
like
kicked
that.
7
Yeah,
or 8 field goals. It was insane.
yeah. And then
Yes.
Richard Seymour forces a fumble on, was it Seneca Wallace as the
It was Seneca
quarterback?
Wallace. Yeah, Seneca Wallace
Right,
with Matt
right,
Castle.
right after the 2 minute warning to seal the victory for New England. In '04, the Pats are up by 3 late, and Seahawks defense is trying to hold, and Corey Dillon breaks off a touchdown run. And that puts that game away. And then even you go back further, there's a couple games in the '90s where they're just close. Neither team was good at that point. So you just have these really ugly, low scoring, close games that come down to the wire. So
Yeah.
something about these two franchises, man, they don't tend to blow each other out.
Yeah, no, that's an actual amazing stat. I like that. That's gonna be regurgitated. I don't know if you came up with that stat, you should get credit for that forever because you should tweet that out right now and it should go
I'm
viral
gonna
because
I'm going to when I have some free time, maybe this weekend, especially if that ends up being the matchup. I'm going to put together a video that's going to show a clip at the end of each one of these games for the last 10. So
yeah.
when I put that together, I'll share that. I'll let you know.
Okay, yeah, because that one is if that becomes yeah, that's a great one. I share the same opinion, I think. Uh, I'm oddly way too confident. By the way, Eric Bieniemy just got hired as the OC for Kansas City, so he's back in KC. That I just got
The
the
more
push
things
notification.
change, the more they stay the same, I guess.
Exactly. Um, but I'm oddly really confident in this Patriots team. Probably too confident. Um, I don't know why I'm so confident where I wouldn't the DVOA and all the advanced stats for the Seahawks say a lot of good things. The Darnold, I would be so nervous about Darnold in that game. He looked really good against the 49ers. I'm sure he's going to look pretty good against the Rams because of that defense and how banged up they are. And they might get that done because the Rams really look like they peaked way too early. And so
They do.
I'm going to be
And their
pretty heavy
special
on the
teams
Seahawks.
is a big weakness too. And
Oh
if you
yeah,
put those two together, that's a recipe for losing in the playoffs. So
this
I
is
will say
you're more analytical than I am. I don't trust a kicker that wears 92 and looks like that. I'm going to be honest. The Rams kicker,
that's
he's
fair.
impossible to trust just on the eye
I
test.
was a little bit shocked he made that kick against the Bears. I filmed the
Yeah.
same thing. I will say if we want to talk about running it back to the top of the dynasty, how did this thing all start with a second-year quarterback pulling off an unbelievable upset in a Super Bowl? And we all know how upsets can happen in that game. So I think the Seahawks are better than the Patriots this
Oh
year.
yeah.
That doesn't mean for one game the Patriots can't be better that day.
Yeah.
And look at that Patriots Rams game. What is it? It's one big play from your quarterback on the touchdown to Patton and the pick six, and then that last drive. And it's like, all right, well, Sam Darnold's liable to throw a pick six in there, and we know they can hit those plays. And we'll see if Andy Borregales would have that in him as a rookie if it came down to a kick at the end. I don't know if I would necessarily love relying on him there, but if we end up getting that matchup, I expect Seattle to be heavy favorites. And I think narratively, we're going to be talking a lot about that 0-1 Super Bowl down in the Bayou.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. It'll be. Yeah, the narratives are lining up pretty good for New England here. But either way, obviously you're going to get 2 weeks of Malcolm Butler interceptions if they play the
The
Seahawks, and
Seahawks.
you're going to get
Yep.
everything about
The
the
Seeing
Brady.
Ghosts video.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it's going to be all that. And then if they play the Rams, it's going to be all uh, 2001 Brady and May and the comparisons to the dynasty starting. And this is going
Yeah.
to be variation too, and Vrabel and Belichick. And obviously there's a long way to go between 1 ring and 6 rings, but. Hey, it'd be a good start. I mean, this is
Well,
again, Cloud Nine.
it's
Cloud
unbelievable.
Nine.
It's unbelievable. Well, I think you're also going to get if you get the Rams, the 2018 Super Bowl, because that was McVay's first, and he lost it. So that's a bit of a
Yeah,
revenge game for him. Um,
yeah.
you'll
That
get
was a
that, and it's
masterclass by Belichick in that game. I mean, God.
one unbelievable. Well, I do think I think if you look with a macro lens here too, if you get Patriots Rams, I think what's interesting about that is that you get that same matchup with different quarterbacks, different coaches, different cities, the different uniforms, the teams rebranding, clearly all these markers, and yet it keeps happening. And I think about growing up as a kid when you hear about oh, Steelers Cowboys, I felt like that was the Super Bowl all the time and all these matchups you used to get. And that means kids are going to grow up in the future being oh, they're going to look back at stuff. It's man, the Patriots and Rams just kept playing in these Super Bowls, and it was always these close games.
Yeah, that actually that's funny to
That's
think
kind of
about like that.
cool.
Yeah, it
Yeah, that
actually
becomes one
that's
of
crazy to
those
think about.
staple pairings for a championship game.
Yeah, no, I like that. I guess last question, unrelated to Patriots, unrelated to teams playing now. We were gonna do a little bit on the Bills.
We
All
have to.
yeah, kind of just make fun of them. But a general thing here is they fired Sean McDermott this morning. That was before you were going to be on the pod. We didn't know this was happening. They kept their GM,
Brandon Bean.
Brandon Bean. Yeah, I was going to say Billy Bean. I was baseball in my head, but Brandon Bean. Is there any relation there? I
I don't believe so.
I don't understand why he stays as GM. I think their coaching direction, it's pretty obvious from my standpoint. You can obviously say who you think the next coach is. I'm almost positive it's going to be Brian Daboll. I would be
Yeah.
shocked if it isn't, just based off of their relationship, Josh's relationship with him, and then the relationship with the GM with him. There's no reason to keep the GM around if you're not going to hire the coach that he wants. And so, that being said, we're now, I mean, you probably have the stats in front of you. Teams that have won 8 playoff games in this 5-year span, every other single one of them is 3-time Super Bowl champions. It's the Cowboys in the 90s, the Patriots in the 2010s, and then the Chiefs in this most recent iteration. Or the Patriots in the 2000, I guess both 2000s. No, they didn't win. They didn't win a playoff game in 6 straight years that year because of the 2000, the year they lost to the Broncos,
Oh,
actually.
two.
Yeah, or
No,
02
no,
also.
they won
Oh,
a
you're
playoff
right.
game in
Yeah.
05. Yeah.
Yep, my bad.
Beat
Yeah,
the
it's 02.
Jets. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 02 that you're thinking, that I was thinking. So yeah, it's the 2010 Patriots, second
Yeah.
dynasty run, and then the Chiefs. So those three teams all won 3 Super Bowls in their runs. I just butchered that stat badly. My apologies, but the Bills had not reached the Super Bowl. You have Josh Allen, who has 8 playoff wins. Every other quarterback before he turned 30, every other quarterback that has done that had Super Bowl or Super Bowls plural in their cabinet by this time. He has no Super Bowl appearances. It's kind of I mean, these are just stats that I'm sure you've seen just based off of the everybody on Twitter kind of dunking on them. And of course on the other side, the Bills being rightfully sad that this is turning into like a better franchise than the Browns, a better franchise than the Vikings, but I mean, still nothing in their cabinet.
Yeah.
No banners, nothing except for AFC champion banners, but no
Not
Super Bowl
not even
champs.
a not even a Super Bowl appearance in this iteration of the Bills.
Yeah, and I think Josh Allen's incredible as a quarterback. I'm not gonna get on him for I get on him for some of these losses, but he's obviously incredible. I don't think you could try to put a list together of where he ranks all time talent wise, but accolade wise, he's got one MVP and some playoff wins against Lamar, and Trevor Lawrence is probably the second best quarterback he's beat in the playoffs, and that's not great. And then you just move into this now his year 30 season, and it's kind of where do they go from here? And that's the question that I posed to you, Matt. And I guess this is the final part of the pod where we just say
Yeah.
what are the Bills going to do? Our big rival in the AFC East, who dominated this last half decade, and we're basically
Yeah.
one game away from getting further than they got this entire run, which is both funny and insane. I do not understand how this is possible. Take it away.
Yeah. I'll keep it quick because I see my camera battery starting to die here. I don't understand why you would fire McDermott and not Bean. I think McDermott's a good coach. I have no objection to getting rid of him. Someone could be a good coach and also not be the right coach for you right now. The reason that and Josh Allen lost that game for them. I think unquestionably. I think this is the first time in the playoffs he's been like the reason why they lost, which is funny that now McDermott's finally catching the blame for it when McDermott's the blame for all the other losses, but not this one. But like, it's just Josh Allen gets asked to do 1,000,001 things because they have not been able to fix the wide receiver position. The rest of that offense is good, but they can't get the receivers. Like they have totally failed on that multiple years in a row now. And defensively, the unit has just eroded with time because they have not been able to replace talent very well. It's just been really bad from Brandon Bean, and I think they've gone in the right direction. They just have not been able to put the finishing touches on the roster, combined with some bad luck in the playoffs, missed kicks, and um, what we saw, and even bad luck in Denver, even though they got outplayed in that one. I think you should probably be restarting and firing the GM and bringing in a new voice at the top of things, because I don't think going back to what's familiar is probably sustainable long term. Brian Dable is someone who's highly emotional, and like I like him, but also he seems to wear out his welcome in places. And I think year one, it probably reinvigorates the culture a little bit if they go that direction, which I kind of expect them to. Long term, like Brian Dable's whole thing was like 4 wide receiver RPO stuff on offense. That doesn't fit with the roster or what Brandon Bean has done or what Josh Allen has done lately at all. I don't see the fit. I think on paper, if you take everything else out of it, the coach that makes sense here is Mike McDaniel, someone who can take advantage of the offensive pieces that you have in the running game and the superhuman you have at quarterback to make things easy and scheme receivers open, and also culture wise, someone who can lighten the room in what seems to be a very tense environment in Buffalo now. It's just that you're never gonna make that move. They can't make that move. That's just not something I think you can do. And maybe a fresh GM does it, but Brandon Bean, sure as hell, never making that move.
Yeah.
Also, one final note on the McDermott thing. He's not responsible for the loss. I also thought you saw the way he responded to that game and the way his players responded to that game. The officials made the correct calls. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. They did by the letter of the law, and that's been backed up like across the board by everyone involved here. the fact that no one in that building is taking accountability for what happened is probably a bigger reason why he should go than any of the other stuff, because like they don't seem to have a good team culture. They have not seemed to have a good team culture since they lost since the 13-2 game. That seems to have kind of broken them mentally. They've just been continually trying to win that game ever since. They've been chasing that, and they just get tenser and tenser and tenser with every season until they can't get over the hump every year. And I think culturally,
Yeah.
you just needed a reset there.
Yeah, no, d I agree with you too much, man. I think, I think you're spot on, with every bit of analysis. I do think the Mike McDaniel's thing would be a really tough sell culturally it would be a cultural
Yes.
reset. The idea of what a Buffaloian, I don't know if that's what they are, what
Yeah.
they would describe
Buffalonian.
themselves as.
Yeah.
Yeah, is more of like a rigid, like, we're not actually New Yorkers. We're upstate New Yorkers where we live in the cold.
Yeah.
And Mike McDaniel's wears those joggers with gold tinted lenses
Yes.
and Rolexes on the sideline, which I don't know how he gets away with that as a coach. But you know, I agree. Like play style wise, that would actually be quite fascinating to see
Well,
a different version in there. But yeah,
But I think I'm a bigger Mike McDaniel fan than others, but like
hmm
I look at his first playoff games, his first playoff game is with Skylar Thompson, and they go up to Buffalo in the cold, and they almost beat them. That's a very close game. And it's like, all right, I kind of think that Mike McDaniel took a quarterback who was not very good and pushed it to the absolute limit, and then is getting punished for not being able to do more with it here. That said, culture issues, like he's too lax in the locker room, and short term, I think Buffalo might need something like that. Long term, I have real questions about Mike McDaniel as a head coach for that reason. And also, like, the way things ended with him and Vic Fangio and the Dolphins players and everything was a big red flag to me, because for Vic Fangio to leave that group and have players celebrating him leaving and immediately turn a defense into the best defense in the NFL to stop Mahomes in the Super Bowl and blow him out tells me that culturally something inside the building is not right. And like,
yeah,
I did think the issue with McDermott, like no one's taking accountability for their own actions on the field after that game. Or Trey White, you're blaming the refs for throwing a flag when you tackle a receiver with the ball in the air. What are we doing here? But also, it kind of seems like there was a lot of that in Miami. So maybe Mike McDaniel not actually the right call, but I do think it'll be Dable, and I think that'll be fine.
yeah. The McDermott thing after the game and all the players besides Josh Allen, it seems Josh Allen I don't think has commented on the refs, which is credit to him. I don't think I've heard him complain. He I think took the accountability that he played like shit. And this is the thing. You have all the other players, Deion Dawkins posting still images. You could post a still image
What are we
about
doing here,
anything,
man?
and we need to
Yeah,
stop doing
that
it
was
because it's insane. And they should.
when I just
There was a
you should
hold in the end zone.
if you lose a playoff game, you should not be going on Twitter to complain about it. If a Patriots player is going on Twitter to complain about a loss after like a playoff game, like I'm done. Like I'm not like it's a team sport. Like stick with
Yeah,
the team. And if you lost, fix it as a team. I don't want to that's this is a small gripe. I'm going to go off on a very small tangent here, but I
you're
remember
good.
after Super Bowl 51 when I think Robert Alford posted the clip of his pick six, or at least a picture of his pick six off Tom Brady in that game. And it's like, man, read the room. Like, yeah, it's a great
Oh,
play. It's a team sport, man. And I feel like you see this in football now in a very weird way where players will lose a game and then still post their own highlights from it. And like, I can tell you, I don't think Mike Vrabel's Patriots are doing that.
yeah. I hope not.
Like, guys are
If we
not.
lose, yeah,
You
I
win and you
agree.
lose as a team.
Yeah, and there are legitimate gripes with officiating across all sports. I think that's fair, but I
Yeah.
think it, it's this was not one game to have legitimate gripes. These are illegitimate gripes, and I understand you want to
Yeah.
say we deserve to win, we're better, but that's like just you're just crying. Like it doesn't come off as genuine at all to me. And I mean, maybe I'm slighted by my hatred for a division rival, but I also don't like Denver, so it's not like I'm a big fan of the Broncos either here.
Well,
I
I was rooting for the Bills in that game because I wanted the AFC Championship to be or May Allen rematch in New England. Like I
Yeah.
would I thought Brandon Cooks made that catch at first, and then you see McMillan rip it away, and it's like, damn, he made a great play.
Yeah, and we should be celebrating the play, and that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
instead, now we've had discourse 2 days in a row about what a catch is again, this is not a Des Bryant situation. It's an incredible play by DB to make a play on a
Yeah.
ball, and Josh Allen, it was a fine pass. He kind of underthrew him. I've watched it over and over again now. He could have. Brandon Cooks did have him beat. So if he throws that ball just a little further, it's a walk-off touchdown. And now we're celebrating Josh Allen as face of the league now. He's overtaking the league. And this
Yeah.
is just the McDermott starts it by crying about the refs. He knew his job was gone after this game, and that's why he does it. Trying
Yeah.
to just hold on
He's
hope, saying we would have won if not for the
anything he can
refs.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't come off as genuine, and I sure hope they don't
Yeah.
change rules for this team. This is the same team that voted against the tush push and uses it now as much as any team in the NFL. So I think have a
I
little
will
bit of
say that
dignity.
that part didn't bother me. I did think the arguments against the tush push were basically like, hey, the tush push is a really good play, and if it's legal, we feel like we have to use it, and also we feel like our guys are going to get hurt, so like we should just make sure no one feels compelled to use it because it's too good, and also our players are going to get hurt. But like, yeah, they don't really get a lot of benefit of the doubt on that either with the way that organization has been. And from the playoff losses and the choking and everything that the complaining about the officials, it's very early 2000s Colts. Very
Yeah,
early
yeah, they're gonna get
2000s
a
Colts.
rule. They're gonna get another rule change, and eventually Josh Allen will get a Super Bowl because they're gonna. When you play against Josh Allen, you have to use 10 men on defense. It's gonna be something like that. I do like Josh Allen. I hear from
Yeah.
people that I respect uh, that he's one of the nicest guys, and
He seems like a
I think
good
that
dude. I like
actually
him
is a
off
good
the
quality.
field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Off
On
the
the
field,
field,
I
not a
like
big
him.
fan.
On the field.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
one other Josh Allen stat. Of all active quarterbacks, he has the like most roughing the passer penalties, like per snap or per pass or whatever it is. Like
yeah.
he just draws them at an insane rate with the way he flops on that stuff. It's like you can't be that big of a dude and throw your body around the way he does and also flop for penalties. Like you got to pick a lane here. You're either a big tough guy or you're not. that
That's another
that
thing that
always bothers me with
I was
him.
trying to describe to my girlfriend about like how it's kind of the soccerification of the NFL with the younger generation of quarterbacks, where you would have, and I mean Rodgers did this a little too in his prime, but not as much even. Like you would get quarterbacks clobbered because you used to be able to hit quarterbacks, and you could just go back and watch Jacked Up, right? And these people would get clobbered. It wouldn't be floppy. Now you have Mahomes, you have Allen, you have every young quarterback basically who they do get hit hard, don't get me wrong sometimes, but they also flop for penalties. And I do not appreciate
And
the constant flopping. I don't like
I
that
blame it
in the
on
NFL.
the refs for rewarding it and the league for rewarding it. Like I think that's where it lies. We'll also say, Pat, my co-host, and I last summer we did it was 21 years since the Patriots 21 game win streak. So we went back and we rewatched all 21 games,
Oh,
and
that's fun.
rewatching those games in full, man, officiating has gotten better. There are some awful calls, and there were calls at the time that are like roughing the passer calls that are as soft as the stuff you see now, which was kind of shocking to be like, oh wow, like this penalty and the inconsistencies with how it's called have been an issue for 2 decades now.
Yeah. Oh,
I just don't think we're ever going to see it fixed. I don't really know why. I feel like it should be. I get that it's subjective, and you're always going to have issues with that, and it's a different human throwing the flag in each game. So you're never going to have 100% consistency across the board. But I feel like we can do better than what we've done.
oh yeah, and these guys make a ton of money, the refs. So it's like, but final thing on the ref thing, a funny thing is yesterday there was a clear time where I think it was, I don't remember who the DB was, but it was like in the Texans game, where the ref was clearly going to throw a PI flag and he couldn't get a hold of his
Oh yeah,
flag, so then he just waved incomplete. If you
I saw that. My camera just died, by the way, but I saw that.
oh, you're good.
I saw some officiating account weighed in on that and said he actually wasn't reaching for the flag and that it was like the clock device that he has on his waist that he was going for, which
Okay,
I didn't know about. Which
okay,
my one big beef, like I think officiating is better than people give it credit for, and it's also not as good as it should be. I think it's both at
agree.
the same time. And I think what the NFL should do, because I think it should be in their best interest, especially as long as gambling is a part of this, for fans to understand the rules and understand how things work, every summer they should get all of the league broadcasters together and do like a week-long officiating summit where they are put through, like, they're taught all of the rules, and they are taught how the officials are taught to know what's going on, and they're taught the clock stuff. It just like, 'cause I feel like so much of the officiating discourse starts with a color commentator who doesn't know what the rule is, who's just pontificating.
Yep.
And then fans hear that, and you clip it, and it goes on social media, and it starts a discourse. And I, if the league's
I
going to
like
be
that
doing
idea.
gambling, yeah, if we're doing gambling, then people are always going to be suspicious when weird things happen, which means you have to go above and beyond to protect the impartiality of the game. And I think that means announcers who can credibly and more accurately describe when calls are correct and when they're not.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I would just say good luck getting Al Michaels out to one of those things in this at this
I
point.
don't know why he's
Uh,
still broadcasting, man.
no, I know, but
I love
yeah,
him, legend.
yeah, he's a
Hang it
legend.
up,
But
man.
it's
No,
funny. He doesn't really care about any of these games no more. He
no,
doesn't. He's just
no.
he's gambling. He just cares about the totals and the spreads. Um,
Look at him go.
yeah, I think we've probably got enough on the Bills here. Unless you have anything else you'd like to add, it's just an insane that they haven't reached the Super Bowl and we're on the precipice of getting one. Speaking on the refs, we are on the good lord, is this the 24-year anniversary of the Tuck Rule game? I think is
Yeah,
today. Yeah, wow, that is the real
the
start
correct
of the
call
dynasty is
too.
this Tuck Rule game, actually.
That's,
So
one of those legend I was one thing I was trying to tell my fiance about was how the early dynasty stuff, you get in those 3 Super Bowl runs, you get 4 home playoff games, and for 3 of them, it is snowing, and there's
yeah,
just, like, that iconography of the Patriots in those uniforms, in the snow, with unbelievable clutch moments, beating good teams. And to have that back at Foxborough this week as like
oh,
it's like my childhood coming back up, and a lot of excitement for this next generation of Patriots fans to get a taste of that too. Because I don't think we'd had a snow playoff game at Gillette since the '04 divisional round against the Colts.
yeah, it's been forever. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
It just felt the you're right, the imagery was like God,
it's iconic.
it does make it feel, very religious-esque where it's like, "Oh, here comes the
Yeah,
second coming of Brady," you know? It's not it's
it's
unbelievable, and
when I
they're
was trying to
singing
explain this.
oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, I was explaining this on our show that, like, growing up with Brady, I'm sure it's a similar experience for you. Like, Tom Brady almost wasn't a football player. He's like a hero from like a myth. Like
Yeah,
he seems like a superhero. It's not even about his football ability. It just seems like, oh well, Tom Brady's there. He's just going to fix it and make everything work. And especially with
yeah,
all the NFL films treatment, it's like, there he is in the snow again, or in the Super Bowl doing something magical. And you get the Teddy Bruschi quote in '04, the "It's gonna be snowing, it's gonna be cold. You know, you wanna come to Foxborough." And
yeah.
it's to not have a snow playoff game between then and now is wild.
Yeah, and it's just all I want the weather to matter in playoff football. I think that that's
It's
the
incredible.
I saw a tweet from a senator from Texas, not Ted Cruz, John Cornyn, and he I mean, it's for a lot of things, he says a lot of bad things, a lot of bad positions. That might be his worst position, that they should
Oh my
domify
god.
every playoff game in the NFL. It's a
I
terrible
c
position to
That
have.
is the idea that we should eliminate the elements from football and play everything in a dome is like the most woke football take I think I've ever heard, and to
So
hear
bad.
that coming from the Republican senator from Texas just absolutely blows my mind.
Oh, it's terrible. It's actually like, get him out of office. Remove him.
That
I
alone
mean,
is an impeachable offense for any,
yeah, it's
and it's
ugh.
the Bears and the Browns switching to, like, dome stadiums too, just feels like the kind of thing that, like, cosmically should be punished. I will credit the Bills there for sticking with an open air stadium.
I do credit the Bills for that as well, and the Bears doing that, I'm gonna be honest with you, that's gonna curse them. That's gonna be an actual
It
curse.
feels it feels like it should, yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah, the final thing, they were singing Your Love, at the last 2 playoff games, and I know that harkens back to, obviously the Ravens playoff game, which is
Mhm.
in
Iconic.
my for my money, the best non-Super Bowl uh, playoff game. I think there's arguments for the Chiefs AFC Championship game in
Yeah.
2018, but that game was
Those are the 2.
incredible. Started the second dynasty. Should have lost that game multiple times. The Edelman double pass, and then it's just you just hear. Speaking of Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth talking during the timeout with Brady just throwing on the sideline with his eye red, not because he got
Yeah.
farted on, but because he got his eye gouged by Terrell Suggs, I think it
With
was.
no roughing the passer penalty on that one. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
funny
that
because
was
everyone talks about how Brady gets the calls, and you see plays like that where you've got defenders poking him in the eye.
yeah. Yeah, and it's just it was just unbelievable. The them doing that, the singing again, and it's like it feels sort of like uh it feels faithful, and that's
Yeah,
worrisome to me because sports often is cruel when it comes to fate, and
it is.
I don't like that feeling. I don't like feeling
Yeah.
hopeful. I mean, it's the whole Seinfeld thing. I
Spoke
like being hopeless.
spoken like a true Boston sports fan right there.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I
hey,
love
we
it.
got 2 games coming up. Thank you for joining, and
It was a blast.
we should do this more often. I mean, this went a little long. I don't mean to take up so much of your day. Last thing, who do you got in the national championship tonight? What's your feel?
Indiana,
Yep,
easy.
I'm the
I
same.
don't
I'm
think
the
it's
same.
close.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a rout. I hope it's a better game than Indiana Oregon though. I want at least to be entertained. Um, but
Fingers
we'll
crossed.
see.
I'm not optimistic though.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. Well, thank you so much, Matt, and go check him out on all the platforms. Twitter, uh, is your Twitter Mount St. Dream?
It's Matt St. Dream. Yes, it's an old nickname of mine. It's stuck.
I like it.
And I'm on Blue Sky with the same handle, although I'm not really active over there at this point. But you can follow me over there. Yeah,
Instagram or
check
anything,
out
or
the
is
check out the
Instagram
pod.
personal? All these things
Thanks
the
for
same.
having me on. This has been incredible. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was awesome. Have a good rest of your day, and go Pats.